I'm here to give you a brief introduction on the DevOps to set up a context for the panel discussion that we are going to have with the panel of expertise on the DevOps side. I'll just get started. Before I give you the definition or give you the context on DevOps, I'm just trying to take you back to the history to define that how the DevOps was basically get popular, or the name DevOps got formed. Interesting, right, in the picture. What do you think about this this statement? Is it between which team? It's between it's a management, or so basically it's taken from one of the presentations, and I think it's widely known during that time as well, around 2009, when we had the Agile was very much popular. And a lot of big companies, and even a lot of companies was adapting the Agile. So back then we have two different specific team. That's development team and the system administrator. System administrator who does the production release, maintain the system production system. So this back then this was a typical blaming game between those teams. Like whenever there was an issue, the system team used to say that it's not my machine, it's your code. And similarly, the development team used to say that it's not my code, it's your system, right? I'm pretty much sure that this statement may be still valid, even someone who have started at DevOps. But I think that's where we have a panel discussion to discuss. Probably this could be one of the discussion topic for you guys. So back in the history, so somewhere around 2009, the two engineering lead from development team and the system administrator, they call it operation. So they presented in a conference about the Dev and Ops, how they work together, how they form their, how they establish the culture around their team, and what are the different technical practices they adapted to overcome that particular statement and really focus on generating the customer value. So this is still available in YouTube, and probably you'll find the presentation as well. So if you are really interested, and if you are about to start DevOps, I recommend to go through it. So around in the same time, around 2009, the Belgian Agile practitioner, Patrick, was also struggling to find the way out for that particular issues. Between especially blaming game between those teams. So he got through this conference and got impressed, and he started his own conference by name DevOps Days in Belgium, from Belgium. So probably after post to that conferences, it's widely used and popular with the DevOps. So I'll be, sorry. Anyway, so what is DevOps? By literal name, it's a combination of development and operations, right? The IT operations. But is it really the combination of the development and ops word? Probably not. It's more towards kind of a mindset, a culture, and technical practices that's intended to reduce the time between the committed code to the production. So to get the more customer values at a faster rate with with still maintaining high quality and having the system with high availability. I'll just briefly talk about the tool chain that DevOps intend to cover. So DevOps, it's rather than a single tool for a DevOps, it intends to cover the multifunctional team, right from the planning to the delivery and the post-delivery, the maintenance of your system as well. So it's like I said, it's a culture, and it helps to communicate and integrate, automate, have a close cooperation among the teams who does the from planning to the delivery. Right, like from planning to delivery, the goal of the DevOps is to improve the collaboration across the team, have a complete automations such that you can achieve the faster delivery on like these days there is a high, we call it as a release on demand, right? So whenever there is a demand in the market, you just release it. So those kind of practices and the process, DevOps intends to help you. This is just to give you, this is very limited. I will say this is not even 10%, the automation tools around the DevOps that you will find in the market. But beyond the just development work, DevOps intend to give you the automations right from the infrastructure build-up, right? When you have to, for your development, there will be a lot of the environments you have to set up, right from development, QA, staging, and the production. So it helps you to automate all the infrastructure as well. All right, thank you. We'll have a, thank you. We'll have a panel discussion, maybe.
Thank you, Mr. Sakar. We will now proceed with the panel discussion. I would like to invite our moderator, Mr. Pawan Krishna Shrestha, who is one of the founding members of Agile Nepal. He is heading the engineering department of Seva Development, which is based in and operating away from the Kathmandu city in Lamjung and Pokhara. He is a certified Scrum Master, certified Product Owner, certified Scrum Professional, and certified Agile Tester. Pawan, please.
Thank you for a lovely introduction, Sneha. So much of learning in this conference and so much of journey in these 2 days. I hope you all have a lot of questions, and will please help me asking the question. I do not have a lot of questions, you know. I would be moderating. There will be people with a mic at some corners. If you want to ask the question, please raise your hand. The mic will come to you. We would like to listen the question, so I would request you to speak it on the mic when you have a question. We would like to welcome our panelist for today, Vivek Ganesan. Vivek comes from India, and he is a book author of Blameless Continuous Integration, and he is an Agile and DevOps coach at the Solution IQ. At the moment, it's a part of Accenture. He is certified Agile coach, certified Kanban management professional, safe Agilist, certified Scrum Master, certified Scrum professional, and he is a very good public speaker too. I would like to welcome another guest, Mr. Shrestha. Sajal is a software engineer at Versant. Recently, now it's branded as a CoTBT, or going to be. With a 3.5 years experience in DevOps, and he is a certified Big Data and Hadoop developer too. Our third panelist for today is Sabin Ranjit. Sabin brings in the 8+ years of experience in this technology field. He is a lead architect and lead architect for security and DevOps in LockPoint. We'll fill in the blanks. There's one spot still remaining, and we're anticipating one more guest to come. So the whole panel discussion is about the DevOps for today. And before I start with the question, is there any question that anyone has right now? You don't have to ask. I just want to see the names, hands. Oh, that's all right. So since the Agile was implemented, I still remember the video from the Robert C. Martin saying that when he explained Agile to developers, and all the developers were so angry, saying, wow, 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 now we are also going to do the planning? And now I asked a similar question. Wouldn't this, again, giving too much burden to a developer, saying, now you're also going to deploy it, manage it, security? What do you say? Question to Vivek. Can you check the mic, please?
Okay. So if I understand the question correctly, it is about, isn't it overburdening developers, or is it just adding to the job of developers? Right. So let me answer this indirectly and then directly. So the first answer would be that when Agile came out, right, we started creating an impression that developers now have to do testing also, right? And then that overburdened developers, or mentally per se. But what we are looking at is not converting developers into testers when it was in Agile. We are talking about a cross-functional team, not a cross-functional individual. If there are testers, so be it. Generalizing specialists. You can be a specialist in testing, but still you can be a developer. Similarly, if it is about DevOps, it's not about converting developers into operations professional. DevOps as a field and its definition itself is emerging, right? Gene Kim, one of the authors of the book DevOps Handbook and the Phoenix Project, he was in a podcast, Solutions IQ podcast last month. And he was saying, I myself do not know what is the definition of DevOps. The definition of the word DevOps is still emerging. So personally, I feel that it is not that developers have to become operations people, and operations do not have to become developers. It's just that you are specialist in some, we call it the T-shaped skills, right? You become a person specialized in development, but also be ready to take something that you can do in other aspects of the operations. That way you become a generalizing specialist. It's not going to add burden. It's only going to make probably the role of a developer much more meaningful because he is now involved end to end. That's my opinion. Does it answer your question?
Yes. Anybody want to put some lights on that?
So to add to that, I will like to add the human perspective and the growth perspective. Now, if you are a developer, mostly if you are, and you are a QA, now what does it matter to have growth? Let's say you are a developer guy. So all the years, 20 years, 25 years, do what? Code? You love to do that? You love to do that without getting understanding of the quality perspective from the operation side, how your code get deployed? That's the big question. And that's what is matter when the world is changing, the IT dramatically, and where the organization is looking for the potential people who has all the capability to address those kind of issues. So I see it as the great opportunity for the growth, and a great challenge to the organization to promote the culture of the learning, to promote that kind of agility. So,
thank you. Around this topic, if anybody has any question to ask, yeah, ma'am, can you please pass on the mic to her, please? You'll have to pass the same one.
Hello. Yeah, actually, I want to add a question on the current answers. you said like if you are getting experienced and you are adding something additional in your career and as per your skill, right? But what happens like in meantime, like it takes shape as a trend. Like if small requirement comes, it also looks for multiple skills. So if someone is expert in one step, they may not get that opportunity easily because people looks for multiple skills at the same time. What you would like to say on that?
Thank you so much.
It's me who needs to answer this. Well, but this is the actually trend we are seeing right now. Like we are asking freshers to have 5 years of experience, a 15 years kid to have experience of 20 years to have so. So the point is that organizations should always have the expertise at their side. It's always have to have. Now the problem with this culture is like is investment. How are you going to plan with investment? How you play with the resources your organization have? Now, one of the solutions that I would like to point it out, like maybe this is the right answer or not, is like you have an expert team side, they will be the mentor, and you have all the freshers and all the newcoming guy who want to chip in and learn new culture. I think that solves the most of the problem that current IT is facing right now. We are facing the lack of human resource all over the regional like Nepal and Pakistan, India, wherever. Now, the point to address is that like you have to have some level of security for the IT professional who want to be the mentor and to have to teach the newcomers, and you have to have them the challenging tasks to do. Now, if you are going to give the same simple issues to all the pros and people, now you don't get the chance to nurture the new people, right? Now the IT industry, like you have to understand, it's kind of most of the HR positive as well, but it's the cultural thing that how you're gonna see it. Now, like in the past, we have to have that focus on he's expert in this particular thing, he's expert in this, but we need to understand how it actually shifted from being expert to actually having a full stack. Like you don't need to be expert in everything, but you have to understand everything, right? Ultimately, the full stack guys will always reach to the expert person. Now the problem is you don't have the expert person when you need it, and everything falls apart. Just think.
Does that answer your question, ma'am? Oh, I'll give you a floor again. Thank you very much. In the meantime, I would like to welcome my dear friend, my bhai, Mizan bhai, to the stage. Just sit close by. Mizanur Rahman comes from Bangladesh. We call him the Mizan bhai. He brings in 15 years plus of experience in this technology. He is a certified Scrum Master, certified Scrum Developer, certified Scrum Product Owner, certified Scrum Professional, Safe Agilist, Gen Certified Developer, a lead trainer at TechMaster, and Head of Engineering at Telenor Health. Please welcome him. The DevOps and the whole IT organization has just changed when we introduced the DevOps. There was an IT operation team who was doing all sort of production, monitoring, deployment, and all the responsibilities were there. Now, in your experience, this would be for Sajal, that what do you see in the IT team now after the introduction of DevOps? What would they do?
Hello? Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. So it's like the question is like every DevOps guy will face every now and then in the interview. So what are you doing separately from the IT? So what is different? So IT team is generally is everything that information technology guys does. Is like whether you are producing your software or you are selling clothes or you're providing a tour to some Europe maybe. IT team is there, and they are doing a lot of stuff like network infrastructure, server management, and computer operations. So they can be like creating a new user or installing new servers to the network or configuring this security. Whereas DevOps, as Sakar said, it's combination of developers and operations, right? So basically, we are application support, application developers, operations team. So we are focused on delivering a new or innovative product as fast as possible. That is time to delivery to the market, I would say. And yeah, so a DevOps guy, so the concept of DevOps is very vague to someone because it involves a lot of stuff, right? So it can be like release management, or it can be like monitoring the systems continuously. So IT and DevOps, in my view, works very coherently because IT provides some sort of privileges to the DevOps team so they can work and practice to deploy the codes to the production. And yeah, that's it.
Anybody wants to put
any
someone?
confusions on that?
Is there any question from the audience? Is there any IT personalities here who is very angry because DevOps was introduced and your job was on the line? Okay. Well, once again, the floor to you, ma'am, if you want to ask a question.
No, actually, just I wanted to like go through the concept of the people sitting over there. We are introducing DevOps, and like in rush, like people who is expert in their field, as what I'm feeling, they are maybe the concept like they should have multi-skilled at one point so that they can understand multiple stuff at the same time to help more to the organizations. So on running, like maybe people can have expertise, but they want to have some more skills in their profile, and they go and rush to gather another one, and like jack of all and master of none can be the condition for the people. So what would be the suggestion for such like scenario?
Right, the question is clear. So anybody would like to answer back, please?
So basically, if you're working in a team, so whatever expertise you have depends on the kind of work you do. So in my case, we are a team of 5, right? So everyone does a separate set of tasks. So if I'm automating something, and another DevOps guy is releasing the codes to the production, and another guy may be like doing some data management or configuration management expert. So yeah, so set of skills depends on what the work you do, and then you gain expertise on that. So you don't have to be a master of all, but you have to be specialized in one field, because in DevOps, we have a set of roles assigned to a particular person, yeah? So does that answer your question?
Yeah. Okay, hopefully. Anybody wants?
Well, we also know that DevOps is mostly a philosophical thing rather than the technological tools and all. Now, the definition of the team formation of DevOps actually varies with the organization. It can be the IT plus DevOps, where the IT people and DevOps team work together. They can be totally pure DevOps. They have separate IT teams and separate release engineer and everything. And there can be DevOps plus security. That's the formation of the team, how you create. Now, to tell myself, I'm more of the security guy than the DevOps, to be honest. Now I have more role in the security and in my career than the DevOps. Now, how the transition went on is like, then I was a part of the team, DevOps team, but my role was a pure security. I was there to learn the culture of the software industry and help enhance the security of the product, like let's say the quality of the product from the security perspective. But there was my other team members were much more focused on how to make the ability most reliable and all the deployments and other DevOps stuff. Now, while forming the DevOps in your organization, you can actually chip in everyone you like to have, like QA. Now, I would say involve PM as well. When you are creating a DevOps for the first time in an organization, chip in PMs, because they are the ones that need to understand more about the DevOps concept when it comes to implementing DevOps smoothly. And bring on all the C people, CEO, CTO, CFO, because they need to really have the good vision on the organization on how you want to proceed with the DevOps. Because the reason is why you are implementing DevOps, right? Because you don't have the clear vision for the 5 years or so. Now you're gonna scramble in the middle of the journey, because DevOps will actually do automation mostly, and really create on the QA team. Now what QA team does, you are doing still manual testing, while DevOps is doing all the automated stuff. Now there will be some kind of collision as well. So it's a matter of how you're gonna play with the team, how you're gonna create a DevOps team within the organization and flourish the culture for a longevity. Yeah.
There, I see some hands. I saw that hand first, so I'd like to give that.
Hello. Hello. So in this regard, so obviously all the company or many organizations have the performance appraisal system. So basically, if you work in a team and DevOps team, so how do we rate and justify the individual performance, or maybe individual performance and appraise and to identify the area of improvement?
So the challenge in the recruitment and the performance appraisal, Vivek, would you like to, since you're also doing a coaching?
Okay. So this is a hard question, and I don't promise to give you a specific answer, categorical answer. So just a disclaimer. But I'm free to share my thoughts on this, right? Be it DevOps or be it Agile or whatever kind of teams that you have when you have multiple people collaborating together. And collaboration is a goal, not just individual performance. Then what you can do is basically see how much business effect has happened because of the team. And also, sort of it links to the question that she asked. What if people try to be a master of, jack of all trades and master of none, right? So people don't learn things, people don't learn tools to become masters. That's not the goal why we, ask people to become a DevOps team. It is for them to deliver a business goal. And as long as you are able to deliver the business goal, you can stop there, right? So the way in which you can link your performance appraisals for teams, which are DevOps or Agile, whatever you call it, it is going to be linked to how much money this team makes for the business. And how much money this team makes for the business is linked to how much business value it delivers for the business. You rate people on any other thing, maybe, give a skills test, that's not gonna matter because people might have great skills, but the team would not have made a lot of money if it did not deliver business value. So always link it to what you want to drive, what your organization wants to drive, which is business value, if that is the case. And link that despite what the team is doing. Team might be doing testing, team might be doing development, team might be doing anything at all. But always link it to the money that you receive so that you are aligned with your organization's profitability, not towards somebody's benefit or local politics. That's one thing that I can think of. And second thing, when you are thinking about rewards, right, it's not just about money. You can create rewards based on other aspects without even money. There was a startup that I was consulting, and they had literally no budget, but they wanted to reward somebody. And the reward at the end that they came up with was a reserved parking slot for a month, right? And that has literally no investment there. But the point is that they gave that person the autonomy to come to office anytime he wanted, rather than because it was a tech park with a lot of parking demand, and people generally used to come very early to just get the parking space. Now, when you reserve a parking slot for a person for a month, because he did something great, it doesn't affect your budgets, it doesn't do anything big, but at the same time, it gives the person the autonomy to come anytime he wants to office. So not just about monetary rewards, there are a lot of things that you can do in non-monetary rewards also when it comes to performance management. That's my case. I know I have not answered your question fully, but these are the two directions that we can take.
Thank you, Vivek. I saw a few smiling faces where we can implement this. We're having a parking issue with the office premises. All right, somewhere from that corner, please, there was one more question before I go.
Hi, I'm Sudeep from Leapfrog. So I do realize the importance of DevOps culture or having a DevOps mindset. But then ops works are usually like it's uncertain, right? And in terms of client's perspective, from client's point of view as well, the operations works are usually not visible to the clients, right? But then as we move forward, like when we are planning for sprints, we do plan on features and the backlogs that we develop for the product. But in these, because of the uncertainties of these kind of operations works, and because it's not visual, so usually it becomes a kind of overburden to our development team, right? So my question is like, how can we plan it so that we can include this kind of ops-related works into the sprints, or what would be the best way to handle such situations?
Mizan bhai, if you would put some light on it, or you wanna go?
Okay, so basically in DevOps, we have continuous monitoring and continuous logging. Everything, we use data from the past to take a proactive approach, I would say. And the end products we deliver are the codes that are deployed to our production environment. So the clients do see the works done by the DevOps team. And for example, if you have some uncertain operations work that comes, we have continuous monitoring in place, right? So we have continuous logging, so we are actively or proactively notified, and we can take the data and do a proactive approach, I'd say. So anybody wants to add on that?
So basically, when you say that you have a dev team and then you want to actually practice DevOps, so my general feeling is that you are doing it wrong. So DevOps should be a culture. It should not be a team that will be handling all your deployments, monitoring thing, you know. Everybody should be doing that practice, whether it's a, small team of 3 member or it's a member of, like 100 team member, you should be practicing that. So that's the DevOps culture. So if you start taking DevOps as a role or a team, you're not doing DevOps. That's, my experiences. It should be that the why we are actually doing this, because if we are actually having a separate team of developers and separate team of DevOps, we are actually creating 2 different teams. And the reason we came up with the concept of DevOps to actually remove the team barrier so that we can, increase more collaboration, all the dependencies are solved and we can do faster things. And at the end of the day, our target is to actually satisfy our customers. So whenever you're planning for DevOps, I do not see any problem with customers, like they should not see the benefit of it. So you have to actually educate your customer, like why you are going through that practice. So it's not actually kind of like adding up the cost to your development budget. It's actually smoothing your operation. And in the long run, that's actually going to save your money, So you are actually talking about the culture, you're talking about the automation, we are talking about the tools that you're going to use for DevOps, and the continuous feedback. So from my perspective and the experience, it says that it should actually reduce your overhead, maintenance budget or whatever it is. So just don't create another DevOps team just to maintain your DevOps related stuff. Put the operations perspective to developers and put the developers into operations. That's actually the concept of DevOps. So create the culture of collaboration. And if you are having a DevOps team, trust me, it's going to create lots of problems and dependencies. And that's actually not necessary at all when you are actually starting the DevOps practices at your organization.
So you were also asking about how can we make ops work more visible to whoever is paying you the money, right? Typically, when organizations move to Agile or any modern delivery methodology, what happens is that they tend to create goals based on delivery, not based on operational efficiency, or not operational efficiency, not in terms of people, but in terms of the software systems that you create. For example, you might be an ops engineer and you might want to just, create a backup server for your database server. And that is not directly contributing anything to the user story that is being worked on in this sprint. So in that case, how do you create visibility? Is that itself could be a user story, but which organization initiative would you tag it to? When you tag it to any operational efficiency based epic. So if you're creating epics, I've seen some organizations, one organization to be specific, where the epics are not only about delivery, right? They were doing a varied, modified version of SAFe. Epics were not only about what you deliver, it was also about what you have committed to your customer in terms of operational efficiency. So if you're creating a backup server of database and it is going to contribute to your database uptime, tag it to the epic, which is 100% uptime of database. That way it will become more visible, and you also tell people, and it comes with planning also, right? The planning also should take care of these aspects. What are the functional aspects of the software that you're delivering, and the non-functional aspects of the software that you're delivering? If you include both, that is why we say if ops people are a part of your, even if it is SAFe or anything, organization level planning, very much like PI planning, these things will pop up, and they are more likely to become epics of their own that many teams can together own up. That is why we want ops collaboration in the planning event also, right? Did I answer the question?
Thank you. Another area that I would like to touch upon, and it would be really general, and I request anyone can pick up the question and answer this, or multiple person. There are challenges. There are challenges we all know, but you all have gone through the processes. So can you just share some lights on what kind of challenges that you had to go through when you started implementing DevOps in your organization, or while you're coaching to some other organizations?
So being an Agile coach, speaking to different countries, I still face challenges at my organization. So just to give you the current scenario at my organization, so we have a DevOps team, unfortunately. And since I'm not the owner of the company, so every time I had a discussion with my boss, my CTO, that I tell him that, the sad story is that I'm telling people not to actually create a DevOps team within the organization, and we are actually doing it. And there's no way we can actually eliminate it. Because I'm not in the authority to actually give them the, go ahead that you should not have it. The problem is that we have a full stack engineering team where everyone is there. So QA, our architect, our software developers, everyone is there. And when we do something, initially we decided to actually have a combined team where our ops person will be part of our Scrum teams. We started that way, and then they realized, oh no, we are kind of like, moving to different teams, it doesn't look good. We should have our own sprint. So now, our DevOps team has their own sprint. And they are not actually part of the development teams at all. So we have around 5 development teams who are actually practicing Scrum, and there's one team, DevOps, they're doing it separately. And the problem is that it creates lots of interdependencies. Like what we are planning to launch, how we are actually planning to launch, how many servers we need, how it's going to work. They don't know about it. And every time we end up planning something, we have to actually brief them about it. And they will come up like, oh, it's not possible this sprint. We are actually not going to, allocate time. We already have our plans. So this is actually real scenario. It still is happening. And the problem is that there's another funny thing is that we do all sort of things. And we use Git, so we create the pull request, QA verifies it, and it's ready to be, merged to production. They keep the production merge button, to themselves. So we, developers don't merge, QA don't merge, only operations do the merging. And sometimes we have to wait 3 days, 5 days, 10 days to actually get a simple thing merged. So the whole concept is that they are very happy because they are the DevOps team, and they are doing all the operations tasks and, kind of like taking all the credits. And the fun part is that we are actually delaying the whole process and coming out of the actually DevOps culture or the theme of DevOps. And no matter what I tell them, they kind of like, ignore it. No, you don't know anything. This is how DevOps should be. So this is actually a real scenario. And when you are actually implementing at your organization, I won't be surprised if you face the same issue. So that's why I always tell, even if you think of creating a separate team, you are creating a silo, and that's actually going to be a big problem later on. So Don't create a team, make it a part of culture. Then you will see the actual result. Anyone?
Talking about the challenges, I remember one challenge that I faced with the team I was working on. There was it was about, I was coaching as a DevOps coach for a team, and I happened to talk to a developer and about what skills are necessary to become, a DevOps team. And at that point in time, somehow the topic of Linux commands came in because they were using Linux servers as their staging and production servers. Then this developer, suddenly the reaction change is saying, I'm a Java developer, I work in IDE, I don't want to work in black screens. Right? And why should I learn all these things? Because that's not cool. That's not the cool stuff. Right? And I don't want to work in black screens all day, night, and it is not even helping me do my job. But then when I ask more questions, it's more about what a person is told when he was hired into the team of organization. How do we hire people into organizations? Before setting them up with an interview, what do? We give something known as a job description. And what does the job description of a developer say? You will be responsible for code and only writing code. Don't ask any more questions. A smaller version, but that's the bigger version, right? That's the smaller version. So if you set the expectation for a person who joins your company using that kind of a job description, you yourself are setting him up for focusing only on specific areas, right? This is where HR involvement also is necessary whenever we come to transformations like this, where people's roles are becoming fluid, right? And another thing, right? I was working in another client, the current client that I'm working with, it's a French bank. And they are severely unionized environments where a person cannot be asked to do a job that he was not hired for, right? In such situations, what comes first? The job descriptions have to change to the target role definition. And then probably whoever is already in the organization. So what we did was this, to face that challenge. And this was a common theme of developers not wanting to learn operations, or operations guys say, coding is not our thing. We don't want to do anything regarding coding, right? No, you don't have to do coding every day. Just learn it. Just in case your team has one developer less, maybe you can write 2 lines of code. No, I cannot do that. I am bad at coding. That's why I came here.
That's why.
Right? So what did we do to take this off, this mental block off is, we spoke with the management or the program manager of that particular program that we were working on. And we coached him how to talk to HR to get a new set of job descriptions done. At least for his program, he had to face a lot of red tape for doing that. But somehow it was done over a period of 4 months. And then we organized something known as a career marketplace for people so that who are already working there. It's not for newcomers. It's for people who are already working there to give them a clear career path, right? Everybody thinks, okay, if I suddenly become an operations engineer from a developer, my career is changing. So what you need to give them is the clarity of their career path. So what we did was this career marketplace talked about how their career is going to change over a period of time. What are the promotions that they're going to get? What are the levels that they align to the organization? It's a big bureaucratic organization, so you have that pyramid. How do you traverse through that corporate pyramid? All these questions were answered in probably a half a day, career marketplace where people can come, take some goodies, play some games, also learn about their careers and go back, right? And then we did a feedback initiative of, did this change the approach of how you understand the DevOps initiative, right? And then from there, we took it again, and then we did some more things. So the biggest mental block, the biggest challenge that I have faced is the mental block for people to learn more things because they think they will be put into situations that they don't want to contribute in. I'm a developer. If you ask me to full-time work as an operations engineer, no way. And how do you take that challenge? Probably this is what we have tried. We tried realign the job descriptions, which touches HR and some parts of management. And second thing is educating existing employees about their career path if they change, right? Being quiet about it does not add any value to people who are doing that. That's one thing that I can share. Does that answer your question? One challenge and one solution.
Sure. Anybody has anything to share, or we can go for audience questions too. Oh yeah, sure, please. Over the mic, please.
I can try to be audible.
Oh yeah, you are.
So basically, so from ideation phase till the value,
Lean, Agile, and DevOps, they can't live without each other. So what we did for one team, I mean, it's also one of the ways. It might work, it might not work. So that's a concept of DevOps, Dev plus Ops. I mean, if you keep, and I completely agree with Mizanur that, I mean, if you are having a separate DevOps team, then you are actually, I mean, just killing the spirit. So operation people should be part of dev team. I mean, they should be developers. And I think the best person to resolve a problem is the person who created it.
Oh, yeah?
So otherwise, other people are will just struggle to find out, okay, what is happening. So for one of the teams, it was a digital media company. What we did that every week, I mean, a separate person, and I'm telling you, the team member. I'm not telling the programmer or tester. A separate person used to handle the operations. As a tester, a person who was, who was specialized in testing, he might not resolve the problem, but he will actually lead that it gets resolved. So he will drive that it get resolved. So every week, one person from the team was handling the operations. So that's how we did in one of the teams.
Sure. I would like to go for a question with the audience. Any question that you have around this topic, around the challenges of DevOps? Hey, sorry.
I have a quick follow-up question on the same. I just want to know more about, so we said that DevOps has a culture and not having a separate team, that's great. But just want to hear more about how do you guys experiment with not every team, not reinventing the wheel with the learnings of different tools related to DevOps. Okay, the harsh reality is, okay, that's a culture, but there are a few tools that teams use, right? So, not having a separate team as such is a good thing, but you have a threat of like, or a risk of, or overhead of every team reinventing their own wheel and the effort going waste. So how do you guys, what's your experience with that in terms of what are the things that can be done to address that challenge?
So basically, what we do at our organization, so we are heavily, dependent on microservice architecture. So we are one of the pioneers in Bangladesh who are actually using microservice architecture, to next level, to enterprise level. So DevOps is a kind of like an integrated practice that we have. And every time we come up with new thing, for example, at this moment we are working with something called service mesh, and that's gonna impact our whole architecture. But we are actually not going there and implementing it directly. So what we are doing is that taking one or two streams, like one of the two microservices, and actually trying to integrate it in a testing environment to see how it's working. And the good part is that the tool that we are working on, only a couple of people actually have knowledge about it. So it's not that the whole team has to know about it right now. We are just doing an R&D and trying to find out whether it's compatible with our existing architecture or not, how much change we have to do. It's kind of like an R&D process done by a team. So when you are actually planning to implement DevOps or try a new tool, you don't do it with the whole organization or all the team. Pick one team, say, or maybe if you have a particular product where you have 4 or 5 different Scrum team, just pick one team, let them test out the particular tools or feature, then actually roll it out to that particular product. If it's successful, then the whole organization. So whenever you do change, it's like inspect and adapt. You just don't want to, and yesterday's session I told one thing, that something worked for that team doesn't mean it will work for me as well. If it's the same product, that's fine. But if it's a different product, different technology stack, different approach that we are taking for deliveries and maintenance, so it's better to do your own homework rather than copying. It's not like DevOps is not a tool that you just copy from online and just paste it or apply it to your solution, it will work. Even you are using the same tool, like say CI/CD pipeline, that might be different from same, another team from the same company. Or maybe the similar technology, but it will be a little bit different for your case. So just go through the practices. So my suggestion would be start small, you just check it whether it's working as you expected or not, then roll it out to others. If you fail, try a new tool, but don't just go through the whole organizational transform like we are going to use, for example, say Jenkins everywhere. If you are using Team Foundation Server or say Travis CI, you are happy with it, just keep it. Anyone?
Like, just to add to it, like it's a kind of more of the cultural thing than the actual DevOps. It's a matter of like how organization is trying to implement the DevOps, like how you're going to transform every project to have a DevOps culture. It's a very minor step, and the result of that is actually the feasibility. There's a result feasibility takes years to come to, because first of all, you have to have someone to have that kind of R&D done. Then you have to implement into some sprint or some milestone you have. Then you have to compare the results, and then you have to come with that, oh, the DevOps works. So this is a good example how it works. And then you have a bad example of how it failed. Then ultimately you have to have some other kind of projects where you can actually implement it and then sell out to the customer. So it's a kind of gradual process, and it will take years actually. So will it take years or will it take months? It's a matter of how much the organization is committed to invest on the DevOps team, how is it committed to invest on the software development team, and how it present on the customer on the delivery side. I think that's it.
Any question with the audience again? There we go.
Hi, everyone. I want to know how we can make the concept of DevOps relevant to the software development firms that do like develop small websites, and they have like frequent more clients. They do small project like a month or 2 months kind of projects. So how do you suppose we make the concept of DevOps relevant to them?
Relevant to them. How could you make the concept of DevOps relevant to the companies who make small websites like 2 months projects?
So yeah, that is the basically difference between the IT team and the DevOps team. So DevOps touches on few parts of the Agile process, whereas the IT team doesn't. So for example, we are involved in the first design discussions and coding, testing, deployment, and all. Also, so maybe the development teams are requesting so and so infrastructures. So it may have like certain configuration required, right? So we fit into all of these Agile processes, and we deliver it to the production side. Yeah. So, for example, if the developers or the design discussion team have some certain requirements, right? So maybe like this will require so and so servers with so and so softwares. It should have so many databases like for configurations, and at the initial design phase. So we'll patch it up to the IT team, and we'll create some scripts for that. So to make the code release very seamless. So yeah, does that answer your question?
So basically, if I get your questions correctly, like if you're doing a small sites or multiple sites at your company, it doesn't actually matter the size of the project. It's more about the practices that you're doing. So for example, your company does 20 websites a month. Now, if you ask yourself the question like, how do I actually monitor the systems are running? Like if you have a maintenance contract or something like that, if you want to do it manually, that's going to be a tougher task for you. So when you are actually following the DevOps practices, that's actually not only about the development, but it's after the development, monitoring, how you deploy the site, continuous getting the feedback from the client, and improving. So if you're going through that path of the DevOps practices, it will make your life actually easier, because whenever you're making a change, you don't have to go there and test it manually. One of the key part of DevOps practices is that automation. Like we'd love to do things automated way. So for my particular part is that whether the project is small, like say even for 2 weeks project, I would like to go with the practices that I follow with the DevOps practices. And whether it's a 2 years project, it's the same thing. So practice should be the same. Tools might change based on your scale of the project. Like it's like you don't need a cannon to kill a mosquito. So you just need to actually choose your tools wisely, but the practice and the concept should be the same.
You said you were developing multiple websites for the clients, for different clients. So is it that you have only static websites, or is it going to be like dynamic websites as well? Because the answer could change based on that.
These are all dynamic websites for
Dynamic.
different clients actually. We have like many clients and many projects going on at the same time, but all of them are relatively small.
Okay. So if the first question I would ask is, why do you want to get into DevOps? What is your motivator for that? Is it about preventing failures in the early stage of development? Or is it about creating a feedback loop with your customer? Or what is it? Why do you want to go for DevOps? Based on that.
Well, I was not fitting a question, but I guess I just wanted to see how it can tie up with the way my team works, with the client, and how we can make sure the deliveries goes out in time and we go live on time.
Okay. So probably we'll need more context if I have to answer the question. Can we take that separately then? Will that be okay?
No problem.
Thank you. Tools and tools. Mizan bhai, I saw your presentation, and that was like half an hour just looking at the tools and running the slides. How do you see the tools as a challenge? Do you see the tools as a tools, or do you see tools as a challenge now?
So basically, if you were present at my, yesterday's session, you should have seen like every particular topic has multiple tools.
Right.
And the problem is that we are sometimes confused like which one to use. So my first approach is that if it's open source and free, first use it. Why should I pay something? And the problem with the enterprise software or the paid software is that the pricing is really higher. Like for example, we use Jira a lot. The subscription fee is not that small. And few of us use Bitbucket as a, for the private repos instead of Git. The reason is that Git is more, comparatively pricier for the private repos compared to Bitbucket. So now, what you have to see is that when you are choosing a tool, we have to make the proper understanding like why this tool is right. So for example, if I need a Git repository, which it has to be private, but I have only say 2 or 3 developers working on it, I can easily go with Bitbucket because it's 5 users is free till 5 users. But if my team is 20 team members and I still want to Bitbucket, maybe the pricing will be almost similar or little bit more than GitHub. So why don't you actually go for GitHub? Because the support of GitHub is actually much better. Now, choosing tools for me is like, especially the whole DevOps tools. There's an array of tool chains. And as I said yesterday, you should choose your tools based on your technology stack, what you are using, whether it fits your project or not, and whether it's the best tool available for that particular technology or technical stack. For example, if you are using, say, .NET platform, so I would hardly ask you to actually come to Jenkins or this sort of solution because you already have, Azure Cloud or Team Foundation Server, Travis CI. There's lots of beautiful tools out there, that makes life easier for .NET or Java developers. But if you are actually using kind of like an open source person who likes to actually experiment, take some calculated risk, go with Jenkins, So that actually much better. Use Kubernetes. Now, another thing is like, if I am going to maintain the tool myself, like if I'm managing Jenkins myself or Kubernetes myself or this sort of tool myself, or am I going for a hosted solution? So I'm paying for the same free solution, but that's actually managed by someone else. So the decision has to be actually based on your budget, your time, your expertise, your project details, like whether it suits me or not, and the time you want to actually invest. For example, if you are trying to learn new tools, it will take time. But if it's already there, someone is there, and we just have to, like for example, AWS is very popular. You need to spin off a server, you go there, click few buttons, it's done. Think it as yourself, like as a developer. You want to do it yourself. You have to buy something. You have to do everything from scratch, from command line. And as someone said that they don't like to see the black screen. But unfortunately, we have to actually work on the black screen whenever we actually want to do in the command line prompt. So that's actually your decision, whether you want to pay $10 extra or $50 extra rather than doing it yourself. So managed service can be another way. And for the tools, my suggestion is that if you're using open source, go with the tools that actually have good community support. So if you are using an open source tool that doesn't have a community support, doesn't answer your questions or queries, frequently, don't go for it. And my basic suggestion would be open source because it saves your money. Anyone else?
Just add to it, there was an advertisement from Travis CI. Jenkins is free, but your time is not. That's what is open source is all about. Like you have everything free, but when you have to tweak something, then you are in the middle of nowhere, right? What I would like to form the team whenever for implementing the tool, then I'll look for what is strength of the organization. So you have a Java platform, you have tons of Java developers, or you have tons of Python developers working in an organization. What's the product line? What's the baseline? Okay. Then there's come the fact that what kind of DevOps mindset you have. If you are forming a team, then what's your team composed of? Is a Python developer or something? This matters a lot because when you are choosing a tool, it will be the safe or the Ansible. One is Python based, one is Ruby. When you have to customize it, the Ruby based, then you don't have a Ruby developer, or you have to learn for months to actually customize the safe. Then you are in very hard position. So it's a matter of what are the strengths right now, and what are the future strengths that your company is trying to promote. Maybe you are for a service company, if you are really focused on the node-based product, like the global market is going toward Node and Python and all, and you are just shipping the Java, and you're just thinking, oh, let's move these Java developers to the Python because of the services, then that's the point where you have to shift the tool, because we have to that point of time, the DevOps and the CI all be ready just to deliver that right product.
Okay. Any questions around the challenges with the tools?
Hello, my name is Prozul. Basically, we are talking about only the, I think, good things about DevOps. But my question to three panels is that what are the challenges that you face when you start to this culture of DevOps? And so there might be some pros and cons. So can you share your views on this?
Once again, we are going to talk about the challenges. If there is any other challenges that you want to share.
So we already talked about a few challenges. The first challenge that we will actually face is the identity crisis. Like devs will think like whether we are ops or devs. And ops will think like, I'm not a dev. So what should I do? The reason actually the DevOps culture is like, it's a kind of like in a debating term, like what should you do? Like, should we actually teach ops how to code, or we should teach dev how to be ops? Actually, it's a balance. Like, why do we want ops to actually code? You can ask like, why do you want ops to be, do development? So we are not asking to actually ops to do the core development part. But when you are actually doing something, say infrastructure as a code, say you need to spin off a new service, you need to do the dynamic configuration, you need to write few codes. Like we talked about Chef and Ansible. You need to make the configuration dynamic. For this particular provisioning service, I need to actually deploy this. So you need to write a little bit of code that the code developers wrote will understand, the environment files or configuration files. Or I want to spin off, say, a Docker Composer file or Kubernetes cluster that if certain container goes down, another will be in spin-off. So we need some sort of code writing experience, whether it can be Python or any other language, but that particular part has to be done by the ops. And what happened is that since the ops are not into active development, so they can make mistakes. So that's where the collaboration comes in. The developer will actually help ops, and ops will help developer to understand how the operations are actually done, how the infrastructure is going to work. So they can actually work collaboratively. It's not actually we are asking like, my developers are sick, ops will come and start coding. We usually don't ask that, because even if someone actually comes in my place and start, coding on top of my actually code, I might not like it, because I have a different style of coding. I have different style of understanding, which anyone can actually just come and start modifying. So we developers are a little bit of, different kind of, I should say, animal, not human being. So we don't like to be actually, poked or, kind of like provoked during our development time. So whatever we do, we think we are doing the best. And even someone else, other developers actually changes our code or give a suggestion, we don't kind of like, like it. So ops doing developers part is not actually something we really look for. We look for the collaboration part. So the first challenge we'll see is that operations people will ask lots of questions like, why do I need to learn programming? Why do I need to write coding? You know? And same way, developers should ask like, do I really need to know about these tools and everything? How Jenkins work? Why I'm using Jenkins? Why not this? Should I be actually worried about these build failures all the time? Or should it be handled by operations? So initially you will face that part. But after the whole concept of collaboration is there, understanding is there, it will go away. So other than that, I think we have talked about all the other challenges, right?
One more area probably you can touch upon is like, I think someone already brought about the hiring, because we are talking about the DevOps as a culture, and culture is something that you build upon the people, and you are, at least at the end of the day, it's people who matters. So how would you like to hire your team when to have this DevOps culture to be so ready in your organization? Like a few years back, we used to hire Java developers. Later, we said that we want a full stack, and we were just broadening, and you're expecting just too much from a one person. So now, please, can you elaborate on that?
So I was a team lead in a startup, right? And I had to play a part in interviews and hiring of people for my team, right? And my team were just starting to do all these crazy things in the name of Agile and DevOps. And I did not know how to approach this problem. So I started asking other people who I think are respectable, and I know that they can give me details about how to do that from the community, from the Agile community. So one input that I received was this. Look for skills, that's okay. But look for people who are willing to learn, right? The willingness to learn is more than what the skill is there. Because if you hire a person with a skill for a skill, you get one skill. If you hire a person with probably one skill and a willingness to learn, you will probably have 3 or 4 more skills while he is serving in your company. That is good for the person also, and it is good for you also. Because what you try to create in your DevOps team is a culture of learning. And you can't take anybody who does not want to learn. So its business is always a give and take thing, right? I should get something, you should also get something. So by hiring a person with learning mindset, as a team, I get a person who is versatile enough to do anything that comes in the way because he's willing to learn. But as a person who is joining a DevOps team, if only I am willing to learn, if only I am willing to learn new things, then only I get benefit out of it. Otherwise, what happens? The person will become, okay, I don't want to learn, but these people are forcing me to learn. We don't want to get into that situation. So the first and foremost thing that matters when hiring for DevOps teams or Agile teams is that the person must be willing to learn. But then, how do you judge that? Let's say you are in an interview, and if you ask a person, are you willing to learn new things? He will obviously say yes. Right? Have you heard somebody, oh, no, for the past 5 years I haven't learned anything. Does anybody say that? No, because they want to get a job, so they will say yes. So how do you judge whether a person is willing to learn or not? Ask them what they learned. What was their recent new thing that they learned? So you have something that they learned, and ask them to talk about how they learned that thing. From that you can gauge whether the person is open to learning or not. Right? So these are the things that I got tips about from different people in the community, which helped me in hiring a team for myself. But I think it's a softer question which has probably many more things that I still do not understand.
Thank you. We are almost about the time, so we might be able to invite 1 or 2 questions if you have any. I saw the first hand.
I'd like to ask a question more like a guess about how many additional functions or words can be added to DevOps. I already know there's a DevSecOps there, but can you guess the maximum number? And if possible, tell me what the word sounds like.
If it's okay, I would like to divert this question to...
yesterday I was talking about the DevOps and DevSecOps, and you were trying to add everything. And the problem is that the emergence of DevOps, the security part, the operations part, the scalability, performance, everything is handled by engineers. So how they do it? They actually do it 50-50. Your development time is 50%, your 50% time is reserved for SRE. Now, if there is no task, you do the development. And if there is no development task, you focus on your SRE job. And they actually kind of like have the whole concept within the engineers. And previously, they used to do only the development part. Now they have to actually think about everything. So DevSecOps is something like, for me, it's also part of DevOps. Because if you think about security, then it should be why DevOps? It should be Dev QA Ops. Because it's not only developer. QA should say that where are we? We are also part of the team. So everything actually fall under either devs or ops. So I really do not like the term DevSecOps because either you put security within the operations or development. So it should be the term DevOps. And we really don't want to actually have big word to find it more interesting or something new for the job market. So DevOps is, I think, the perfect term for me for now.
Thank you. I would like to hear from Sabin because you're also involved with the security and DevOps.
Well, it's a kind of very tough question actually, because most of the time this DevSecOps things actually takes years to actually accomplish something, because you need to have very good security team in your organization to actually chip in help to the DevOps, and you have to have DevOps team that's lean toward the security. Now, most of the time the problem is that in the field of information security is like they are very rigid. They are more into compliance and all stuff. And they are not that flexible, to be really honest, than the DevOps compared to DevOps. And there's come the everything that DevSecOps have to offer. The automation, the security automation, that's not 100% automated. Like you can't always automate the security. There's always have to have manual something. Then you have the problem of, okay, so how are we gonna automate? Then you have to have a QA to actually help in automation. Then there's the question of everything, like, okay, you're bringing the SecOps in the DevOps, and it's a DevSecOps, and there's everything involved. Now there's a QA, now there's a project manager, because he's asking how secure is my product in the sprint or in the milestone, and there's a different security team that's actually going through compliance and all, and this everything plumbers actually. It's kind of most of the bigger issue, gets bigger issue when we are trying to incorporate SecOps. It's very risky when you don't have a mature organization or you don't have enough manpower to address what DevSecOps have to give.
Vivek?
Kiro, in my opinion, I think we are probably on a very big journey. The ultimate end of the journey will be where all teams will function like autonomous startups of their own. Many companies are trying to do that now, but that's the end state. Probably that's where the industry wants to do. And the first or second step is the Agile or Dev test and the DevOps probably. And then there come the DevSecOps, and then, okay, business people thought, okay, we should be included in some buzzword. So there is a biz DevOps also now, if you see, right? So, and this is not going to end until the point where you have very small teams which are willing to do anything and everything it needs to get the business value done for profit or whatever their goal is. That's a target state. And to go there, we need to collect one grain in the journey. So first we collected Agile and, or a Dev and test, and then now collected Ops. Probably we will collect SecNator, probably we will add business, and probably DevSec, Biz Dev Ops, CEO, CX, so everything will come there, right? At one point in time, we'll have a small startup, and larger monoliths don't probably have a future of their own. They all want to split into smaller things that can add to a common business value. Probably that's what my opinion is. There is no limit until it becomes a startup which has everything in its own.
Right, thank you. Thank you. I'm sure there are a few more questions, but I would like to respect the time. And just to let you all know that this is a journey of learning. The whole conference is about learning and sharing the knowledge. And the first step that you do in your learning is to know that you do not know and to ask the question. And I like the questions coming up, so I don't want to kill the spirit, but then there's a lunch waiting. So we have another side. So we'll take this questions and answer round towards the lunch, and we'll pick one of us in the panel there, and we'll sit together with them, we'll eat and talk. Thank you very much. Thank you, panelists.